Alright boys, welcome back to another video. So yesterday I talked about the Kansas City Chiefs and their offseason, and this one we're doing the Minnesota Vikings. Personally, the NFC North Division is the Vikings to lose. I know that sounds crazy because the Lions went 8-2 down the stretch of the final 10 games. They beat you guys. But the Vikings, they have an opportunity to do something special next season. I mean, you won 13 games. Sure, a lot of it was luck, one-score games. And of course, that one-score game against the Giants wouldn't go your way. You have to understand that the Vikings, they have a new defensive coordinator in Brian Flores. He's going to run a 3-4 scheme, it's looking like, which is going to benefit guys like Harrison Smith. It's going to benefit guys like SwaggyYoutube Smith. Offensively, the Vikings can go out and add in a wide receiver next to Justin Jefferson because KJ Osborne's a pending free agent and Adam Thielen is actually second on the team in terms of cap. He's making $20 million against it. So he's a cut candidate unless Thielen takes a significant pay cut, which he definitely will not be. He does want to retire a Viking, but the thing with Thielen is that he even said he wants to prove that he's still a high-level player. And the last 4 or 5 games of the Vikings season, he didn't do exactly that. I mean, there was, I would say, at least 3 or 4 guys on the team, offensive weapons that Kirk was looking at for over Thielen because he wasn't creating the same amount of separation. I mean, if you look at Thielen's yards after the catch, he ranked 128th out of 130 qualified pass catchers. So Thielen has clearly regressed. He's making a ton of money. His time as a Viking has more than likely come to an end, which means that the Vikings are going to have to look at either free agency or the draft, which is exciting because I'm looking at, what's an example, Philadelphia. They've got Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Let's name random teams. 49ers. They've got Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. You can see some of these top teams in the NFC, they've got 2 or 3 weapons. The Vikings have TJ Hawkinson, who's as good as it gets. Hopefully, he actually is under contract. I always forget that. Yeah, TJ is under contract as the Lions picked up his 5th-year option. So TJ's back. Kirk Cousins is about to be 35 years old, but Kirk last season is a damn good quarterback. I hate how Kirk gets so much hate because you know how many teams would kill to have a quarterback like Kirk Cousins? I mean, he went out there with an offensive line that wasn't very good. Sure, he had Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson late in the season. But if you look at what Kirk did in the playoffs, and by the way, Kirk was the 2nd most pressured quarterback this season. Now, don't hold me exactly to that, but I remember reading that Kirk was legitimately pressured more than basically every single quarterback. I'm confidently can say he was 2nd. So, and he still went out there and was a Pro Bowler. The Vikings, they need to improve a lot this offseason. Despite winning 13 games, I've been saying this too, they have a lot of needs on this team. And to be precise with you guys, it's not just receiver. Defensively, they need help at the edge. I mean, Danielle Hunter, they have to decide if where he's even going to be playing next season. He kind of was moving around, and he did look lost at times. Injuries have always been Hunter's problem, but he stayed healthy last season. He didn't really seem like that was the best they can get out of him, though. That's why Flores coming in is huge. And then SwaggyYoutube Smith, he has a chance to be a cap casualty because the Vikings currently are, I just read, what are they? Where's the number? Come on. I don't have the number, but they're like, I think it was like 25 or something million over the cap. So they have until March 15th to fix that, or there's going to be penalties for that. And guys like Adam Thielen, right? Harrison Smith, SwaggyYoutube Smith. Those are 3 players who are some of the best, well-known players on the Vikings. Oh yeah, another one is Eric Kendricks. There's a lot of good players, but they just make a lot of money. They're hurting the cap, and the Vikings could either restructure a contract or they could just flat out cut them, which would save money. Dalvin Cook's another guy who's starting to be talked about because he would save, $8 million against the cap by being cut. And as much as I like Dalvin Cook, I called him one of the best running backs in the league over the past season. I love watching him compete. But with how good this draft is at running back and with how many free agents there are, the Vikings should probably cut Dalvin Cook because, I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not saying you're going in the 4th round and drafting a running back and, oh, my God, he's better than Dalvin Cook. It's possible. We've seen that happen plenty of times. But, Cook, with the injuries, he just had a surgery this offseason. At the very least, you probably want to draft the running back. Is Alexander Mattison a free agent? Somebody please let me know down below in the comment section if Madison's a free agent or not. I can't remember. They could use him, but the Vikings, they need to completely fix this roster. And it sounds crazy. They're coming off of a 13-win season, but I mean, you have to realize that Green Bay's not going anywhere. The Lions finished the season 8-2. They're on the rise. And the NFC as a whole is going to be extremely competitive next season. I mean, Eagles, Niners, other teams, Seattle Seahawks. That's pretty much it at the top of my head. I mean, the North, we already talked about that. The West, Niners, Seahawks. What about the South? No, there's no team in the South that I'm concerned about, at least right now. So you can see that the Vikings, going into the playoffs, I had faith in them. I thought they'd beat the Giants, but I wasn't too shocked that they didn't. But now, I mean, they realize their mistakes. They're improving on it, and expect significant changes for this Minnesota Vikings team next season. There was an article that came out by ESPN talking about this. You guys can just go look it up. I mean, it's pretty much all over the news right now in terms of like Vikings. Corner's another issue that the Vikings need to address. You could argue it's the most important need this offseason. I mean, wide receiver is huge, but when you have Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson at tight end, you can kind of get away with it, but it should be addressed. The issue is, though, it's not a good wide receiver free agency class. Like Juju Smith-Schuster is probably the best guy on the market, and he's definitely out of the Vikings price range. So they're going to end up having to draft one. We'll see where they do that. And it's going to be interesting. I don't know. Like I said, this is completely speculation. There's no news about, at least to my knowledge, there's no news on the Vikings meeting with any wide receivers during the combine so far. If I see anything otherwise, I'll let you guys know in the next video. But corner, I mean, right now, Andrew Booth Jr., ton of potential. Cameron Dantzler, who was, when would you guys pick him up? I honestly don't even remember, but I do know that Caleb Evans was a fourth-round pick last season, and he definitely has a lot of potential. Duke Shelley's a guy that I'd like to see the Vikings bring back. And now that I think about it, I need to figure that out because I just like learning things. So let's just type in Vikings draft Cameron Dantzler because I want to know. He was a third-round pick out of Mississippi State, it's looking like. Okay, interesting. That's cool. Oh, he redshirted in 2016. All right, that's cool. I don't watch college football, so it's like hard for me to know stuff like that. But he was a third-round pick. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, he honestly was good. Like you could argue he was the best corner on their team last season. Patrick Peterson is another guy, of course. But I don't think the Vikings are far off from competing for a Super Bowl. Like last season, I don't think anyone had them as a true Super Bowl contender. But they have things to build upon. I mean, if you look at last season, they gave up 4 plays of 24 yards or more against the Giants in the playoffs. They allowed 142 rushing, 301 passing. By the way, this is a New York Giants offense that's pretty mid. Daniel Jones had not just one good game against the Vikings, but 2. Remember a couple of weeks ago when Greg Joseph hit that field goal? Well, a couple of weeks ago prior to that game, Greg Joseph ends up hitting a crazy field goal, but Daniel Jones went off in that game as well. So the Vikings defense, it was soft all season. I mean, it ranked 31st in the NFL in yards allowed. A lot of that was on their defensive coordinator, Ed Donatel, right? Who they ended up firing and bringing in Brian Flores. Flores loves to blitz. He loves to generate pressure. I think the Vikings defense is going to look a lot better next season. It really can't look much worse, but I think the Vikings defense is legitimately going to be really freaking good, bro. Really is a bad word to use, but it is going to be a huge upgrade over what we saw last season. And Kirk Cousins, guys, despite being under pressure, I mean, he didn't get sacked, but Kirk was under pressure, and he finished the game 273 yards, 31 of 39 passing. So, I mean, the Vikings, they only recorded a field goal on their final 3 drives of the game, no touchdowns. So, the offense, it's not perfect by any means. I mean, they definitely need to fix their interior offensive line because guys going into free agency, we don't really know the circumstance of that moving forward. I mean, well, I'm trying to think of your guys' interior offensive line that's hitting free agency. So, hold on, let me pull that up. Okay, wide receiver, we talked about corner, we talked about edge, we talked about Oh, there we go. Sorry, my guys, my notes are literally all over the place. It's so unorganized. But Garrett Bradbury is a free agent. Ezra Cleveland is set to be a free agent after 2023, and Ed Ingram is coming off of a rough year. I mean, Ed Ingram, I feel like, has a potential in the league, but he was not very good last season. It's a new year though. Just remember, I mean, it's always a new season. You can have a bad year and come back and play well. So hopefully that Ingram can do that. But in terms of the unit together, it definitely needs to be upgraded. The Vikings don't have much money to work with in free agency, and in terms of draft picks, I'm pretty confident they don't have very many. I know they have their first and their second. We can just pull that up right now. I know they have their early picks, but like how many do they have is the question. Vikings 2023 draft picks. All right, so there we go. Let's look at the Vikings picks. So they have one. They don't have a second round pick. I stand corrected. I'm an idiot. That was the TJ Hawkinson trade. Okay, let's pretend I didn't say that. So you guys have your first rounder, your third rounder. You have a fourth from Detroit. Wait, but that's confusing because the Detroit pick is a fourth? That makes no sense because didn't you guys just swap picks for TJ? Like you guys got... oh my god, I'm looking that up. TJ Hawkinson trade. This is so confusing, bro. I'm gonna pull up the trade. So it was okay. The Lions received a 2023 second round pick. Okay, so there's your guys' second round pick goes to the Lions, and you gave them a 2024 third round pick. The Vikings got a 2023 fourth round selection and a conditional 2024 fourth. Okay, so you guys give them a second and a third the next year, and then you guys get a 2023 fourth. And you get a fourth next year. And TJ, I would say that was a win trade. I mean, a second is a lot in the NFL, and a third next year. But TJ Hawkinson legit was a superstar. Like, he was a Pro Bowl tight end, and he had a great season. He went off for the Vikings, especially in that playoff game. I mean, could you imagine where they would have been without him? I mean, Justin Jefferson had literally no help, bro, besides TJ. So, outside of that, I mean, Harrison Smith, he's got a $19.1 million cap hit. I don't think he'll be cut because Smith is still a good player. Like, yeah, he missed 3 games last season, had a couple of different injuries. But Harrison Smith will be absolutely just brilliant in this new defensive scheme from Brian Flores. Blitzing, I mean, he's gonna have an unreal season. He's 30. He just turned 34 actually, so that's not exactly ideal. But he's a player that I just don't know why you would move. I restructure his contract, yes, but you don't just flat out cut Harrison Smith. I don't know how you would replace him, right? I mean, could you imagine the Vikings trying to figure out corner and then they need to replace Smith as well? It doesn't make sense. I mean, they do have Seen, who they drafted, who I think has a lot of potential, but I'd like to see them play together preferably. Eric Kendricks, $11.4 million against the cap. Kendricks was incredible against the run, bad against the pass, but he's normally one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. I don't think Kendricks is a bad player by any means. I think he's a very good one. It's just Ed Donatel is not the greatest coach. So, but again, Kendricks, he probably will be cut. I mean, how else are the Vikings gonna save millions and millions of dollars? They're gonna have to do something, right? Dalvin Cook, I don't think they're just gonna flat out cut Dalvin Cook. They'll definitely draft a running back, and then outside of that, I mean, I did see that Brian Flores wants Patrick Peterson back. I don't know if the feeling is mutual, but Pat Pete did have 5 interceptions, which was the most he's had in a season since 2012. That was his second season, yeah. So honestly, that's it. That's the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on it. It's your boy Swaggy. I'm signing out. Drop a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let me know what you want to see next. Peace.